It's time for Mechanic Weekend. Welcome back. We got another mechanical weekend. And guess what? I'm doing a Ford 8.8 rear end axle swap. So that includes a lot of intensive labor. Before we take the wheels off, I'm going to put it into four-wheel drive. Now I locked it into 4 low, so that confirms when I have it in park, it won't roll away when I take off the rear wheels. So of course, since I'm a broke college student, I have to use what I have. So I got a 2.5 ton jack, I got some 4 ton jack stands, and some 2x4s cut to various lengths. We're going to use the 2x4s to lift my Jeep with the jack so I don't ruin my unibody. So I got my blocks set up, and you'll be right that this is the wrong way of doing it. And I agree with you, but you gotta work with it, what you got. So we're gonna lift it up. And so if you're doing this yourself, you gotta be like that multiple Jenga piece. You gotta make sure it's all nice and even. And when you're doing this, you are making sure, one, your blocks are all even, and you're consistently making sure the blocks aren't going to go AWOL on you. So in this case, make sure you go give it a good kick like that, and continue. Give it another. Make sure it's not just like that. Of course, that's not what you want. Now we just reposition with 2 lesser blocks. All right, off camera, got my tire off and figured out that this stud is spinning within the half shaft, so I'm gonna have to do some little adaptive work when it comes to when I drop this vehicle, because I need these spacers for the offset to work for my tires. Got my jack stand underneath the lower control arm mount. It's not touching the lower control arm, but it's holding there just fine. And figured out what was happening with my suspension going into full travel, why it was clunking so bad. So my sway bar is hitting my spring, and it's not good. So for me, I'm gonna just remove the sway bar when it comes to it. I already took off my emergency brake cable. What's nice about the ZJs and the Explorer that I got off of this connector is the same between them, so that should be a pretty easy install. So yeah, I got a lot of mud in here, so that's gonna be fun, getting in my eyes. So I'll just see you right back. I got the sway bar link off, but I wanted to show you something really quick. So do you notice the sway bar, like the actual sway bar to the spring? Look at the difference. You see a problem here? That all can be contributed to the track bar. And look, it's not adjusted. over at Big O, they didn't really decide to think that, hey, I bought a adjustable track bar, we should probably do work on the rear axle. Didn't happen. So I'm gonna do, while I swap the axle, do a quick, just track bar adjustment while I'm there. It's kind of a mess in here, but the next part is to remove the spring holders. So right here is a spring holder. This little clip holds your spring, and that's it. So what we got to do, get our 1/2 inch on there, and luckily for us, it came off pretty easily. We got to do this to both sides. So now we're going to move on to the shocks. So you get your wrench on there, get your open-ended on this side, and start wrenching on it. Now I'm just going to do a little quick trick. You get a smaller open-ended wrench on the bolt, and then you go unfortunately for my case, what's happening is that the axle's drooping down, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my jack right here on the shock mount, bring it up just a little bit so I can slide this bolt out. So we're going to position our jack, lower it a little bit, get it right there underneath the jack, not the jack, right underneath the shock tower. Just raise it just a skosh. And you should find that my trick will work again. And we just go whack, 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 and she's out. I'm just going to leave our shocks just hanging like that. And you notice that I put my jack underneath the axle. So right now, there's only two things, or not two things, there are three things holding it on. So right here, the lower control arm, right by the track bar, behind it is the upper control arm. You can see the upper control arm here, and then right there. Let's take those off now. So right here, I have a 13/16 socket on a breaker bar. I'll just put that on there. You can find it, of course. It's not great with this. Oh. Where are you? There you go. Just a tight fit since there's a little bit of mud on it. I'll make sure I PB blast the crap out of this. If you don't have PB blaster for this job, or some type of bolt penetrant, you're going to be shooting yourself in your own foot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tighten up my vice grip on that stud, and as I go down on it, should just come right off. And we have positive movement, so we are in business. Now I'm going to move my socket. And you can see my vice grip's now starting to move. Oops. Just it'll contact the axle tube, and you're now free to loosen it up. So once that's off, get your vice grip, or if you use the right wrench, just take it off, and we're going to leave that stud in there because that's actually holding the axle up right now, and we want to keep it semi all together before we take more things off. Sorry, this is not the best angle here, but this is probably the most difficult part, is right here. Because what you got going on, that you have the hard brake lines right behind the Make sure it threads on there, which it does, like that. I'm just holding on to it right now, but if yours doesn't come off that easy, it's a T50 socket. You put it right here, and you hold it, and with a preferably with some type of power tool, you drive the T50 bolt. But I got lucky, and I started it on where the nut was. This should just come off. Lucky me, since this was a Texas Jeep before it. So that's off. Now, the last step is the track bar. So with the track bar, we're going to have to remove the upper control arm stud. So I'm back again. I got a 1/4 inch extension. All right, a little more. So I don't know if you saw that. Hit my head with the camera. Now, it came out loose just like that. The next part of this is you're gonna drop your axle again. So it's just a ballerina dance, just like so. And then you're gonna come under here, your hammer. Pop out the upper control arm. Alright, now it's time to take off the track bar. So I'm feeling behind here as I loosen this. And I think, from what I'm feeling, that is a stud, part of the original axle. So when Ace opens up again, I'll get a new stud for this. All right. Since we got that track bar out, bolt out, we're gonna go ahead and hammer out the last few bolts holding the axle in. Got to make sure the axle's got a little less pressure on it. Let me get in the right position. Hammer this. So, back. Seems like it wants to droop. So again, we go back to our axle. Go down. That actually didn't help us. I watched it go up. Ouch. I'm gonna get my hammer back here and one out. Other than a BP oil spill happening because of the brake lines, I got it all disconnected. The axle wants to fall out now. Now I just gotta slide this baby out. Alright, just remember your fill plug is on the front of the axle, right by your drive shaft. So take it off, use a 3/8 box wrench. So use a socket set and you can take it off. So it hasn't come out yet. Just an FYI, in my situation, I'm using 8890 gear oil. In this case, I'm using Lucas. You are more than welcome to use whatever gear oil company you like to use. This is just residual that's coming off the axle at this point. So time to get another bottle. Just a keynote in regards to picking your oil for your rear axle, doing a rear axle swap. Go off of what the differential company recommends. So I have an Eaton True Track in here, and the Eaton True Track wants 80 weight 90. So don't specifically go off of the original manufacturer's axle. Go off of whatever carrier you're using. Alright, so I just finished up with the last bottle there. It just took about 2 quarts of fluid. So I'm just going to put the plug back in and call it a day. Oh my gosh, it is blustering out here. But regardless, we have finally finished the rear axle. Did a couple tests with it, and the limited slip does work. All the brakes work. There's some adjustments to do, but overall a good repair. Hope you guys tune in next time, because we are heading down to Moab. With all these modifications, I gotta put them to use. So see you then.